If I started game dev over, I would do it completely different, and I would simplify the crap out of it. Like, there would only be a few things I do, okay? And I'm gonna tell you those 3 things. And by the end of this video, you're gonna be like, well, you're gonna feel like this is a totally different idea than what you've heard from other YouTubers. Now, I can be confident in what I tell you, because I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm an indie game developer. I've been a full-time indie game developer since 2017 or 16. I've been making games for half of my life. I'm 30. I just turned 34. I'm 34. I've been doing game dev way more than half of my life, but doing it full-time since 2017. And, you know, a lot of indie game developers, especially right now, the economy and the game industry is brutal. A lot of indie game devs, they make like one game and they barely scrape by and they can't do it again. They use their savings, or they got some lucky deal or lucky break, and then they just stop because it's just too much. I'm gonna show you the 3 sort of steps I would take if I started over to create a secure, stress-free game dev machine, okay? And it's gonna feel different than you'd expect. Okay, so hang tight through the whole video. Okay, so let me show you 2 things. These 2 things, before I get started on the 3 tips, let me show you these 2 things that sort of represent what I'm all about when it comes to a sustainable game dev career. You ready? Hang tight. That's my... There it is. YouTube, okay, and games. This is it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, not all of us can have over 100,000 subscribers. Not all of us get lucky like Thomas. Well, hang on. You don't have to have a ton of subscribers on YouTube, and you don't have to have a gangbusters viral game. My games were not viral. They weren't viral. They were, I mean, if you look on Steam, they did well in like terms of reviews, but like, let's think here. It's not like they made millions of dollars. I think Neversong almost hit $1 million in gross revenue. I wouldn't call that just Steam sales. Like, we had to do a lot of other stuff, but they weren't particularly viral. Yet YouTube games, it's created this machine where it's just like, I just know we're going to make money, and I know that we're going to be totally fine. I'm talking about me and my wife and kids. We're going to be fine for a while, and I could just keep making games. Now, here's the thing. It seems like, wow, I can't do YouTube and games. I can't build an audience and make games. I don't even know how to make games yet. And I know that seems really, really stressful. So I'm going to give you the 3 sort of steps to get there, okay? And it's going to feel weird. Just hang tight. Please hang tight and listen to these 3 steps. And I'm being completely honest with you. I want to be open and honest with you about what I do exactly and how I run my business, so that you can do it too. And well, what you're going to be creating, it's so cool. You're going to create this little bubble. And the reason I don't mind sharing these sort of tips with you and how I do things, because if you decided to do what I'm doing, you're not encroaching on my space, because I have my own little bubble. I have my own little audience, okay? And you have your audience, and we're not competing, okay? The problem with Steam and the problem with game dev in general is your game is competing with this game. And this game is competing with this game. And it's like thousands of games that are competing, and suddenly, you're not making money. But what I'm going to share with you is, well, it's how you can build something that's sustainable and it's safe. It's almost like walled off. It's this nice, cozy bubble. And that is an audience, okay? And so we're going to talk about why you want to build an audience. Before we build our audience, step 1. Let's finally get to step 1. Now that I'm done rambling, let's get to step 1. By the way, if you want to go deeper into all this stuff, if you want to watch like a 45-minute webinar about how to make 6 figures with just a demo, There's a link in the description. This could change your life. I know that if I saw this webinar and watched it, it would change the way I did game dev when I first started. So watch it below. It teaches you how to make six figures with just a demo. It's not a gimmick, I swear to you, because I've done it like 3 different times. I just want you to know about it. How to make over $100,000 with just a demo. I've done it several times. There's several ways to do it. And so click the link below and check that out. Okay, let's keep talking. If I had to start over as a game dev, the first thing I would do, it gives me chills because it's so simple. And the reason it gives me chills is because I've been stressed out of my mind for 2 years. And I'm in this simplification process in my brain of going, it doesn't have to be this complicated. So the first thing I would do if I started over is I would build 2 products, okay? Before I build my audience, I would build 2 products. Now the first product isn't even a product, it's a web page. I would build an opt-in page to get a free demo of my game. The game doesn't even exist. It's just an idea or a name. And I would say, get the free demo. And it's an opt-in page, or it directs the user to a Steam page to wishlist a game. So you'd create a wish list or a Steam page for a game that doesn't even exist yet. You can use concept art. I've done this, by the way. You just put concept art up on Steam and make it look like an actual game. Set the page live and start generating wish lists. Or you can create an opt-in page with Wix or Squarespace and just have people opting in. You've heard me say this before, but I'm just going to say it again for the billionth time. An email list it's like a magic wand. Here. It's like a magic wand, and when you launch the game, you don't have to guess whether it's going to ignite and release your spell or not. It just will. You know it will. If I have 10,000 wish lists, I know that it's going to ignite. Email addresses, wish list, and by the way, a wish list is basically an email list. It's just Steam owns it. Email lists are so freaking valuable because you can guarantee, it's the law of averages, you can guarantee that at a percentage, whether it's 1% to 10%, depending on the product, or maybe even 20%, will convert to a sale. So if I have 10,000 wish lists, and by the way, that should be your goal. If I have 10,000 wish lists for my game and it launches, I know I'm going to sell copies. I know it. Now, we can't guarantee the exact number, but we know we're going to make something, okay? And I've done this multiple times with my games, Never Sung and Pinstripe, and every launch was at least $10,000, $20,000 to $20,000. I can't remember, and it depends on like whether it was a day or a week. But ultimately, those games made a decent amount of money, more than most indie game devs, because I was focused on creating wish lists. Okay, so that's the first product. It's an opt-in page or a Steam page. There's no game created yet, nothing. Okay. And you can start getting those wish lists. So it's almost like money that hasn't been born yet. It's like an embryo of money. Hasn't been born yet, but it's still money. It's just an embryo, and you know it will become money. So that's one product. The second product you create is a resource. But Thomas, I don't want to create a resource. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be a sleazy YouTuber who sells resources. That's annoying. I know it's annoying, but it creates a safe ecosystem for you to build your game. And I'll explain why in just a sec, but I want you to create some kind of resource. It's a asset pack. It's a mini course. It's like an hour, 2 hours long, and it's dedicated to teaching something that you know really, really well, okay? Now, if you're going to create a technical course as opposed to like a career course, so like a technical course is like how to code, right? A career course is like how to actually make money in the game industry or how to get a job in AAA. Those are much higher value courses, and you can sell those for a premium, but there's also smaller mini courses that you can sell for like $20, okay? And those $20 courses, totally fine for you to create, even if you're not a full-time game developer. If you have something that you're really gifted at, you can create. Look, seriously, just do a bunch of tutorials, record your screen using OBS or Streamlabs, upload it to Teachable or Kajabi. You've got an hour-long course where you teach something. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll explain why in a sec. It doesn't have to be perfect. and call it something clever, like 5 steps to C# mastery or something like that, or Godot Pro 2024. I don't care. Create some course or an asset pack or resources or something. It doesn't matter. And now you've got both. This one's hosted on Kajabi or Teachable or something like that, or maybe it's just a zip file. I don't care. And then this one is an opt-in page to collect email addresses. Now you've got 2 products. What does that mean? Instead of taking sponsorship deals, there's a lot of things. Instead of hoping and praying that your Steam game actually makes money, you actually have your own, again, it's like an ecosystem, your own bubble, your own products that you can sell, and they're yours and you own them, and you determine when and how you sell them to make money. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, build an audience. Okay, I would build an audience on the platform that you understand the most. So if you're a TikTok consumer, which I am not, and I don't understand it, but if you're a TikTok consumer, as long as you can put a link in the description and drive traffic from TikTok to those 2 products, use it, do it, create TikTok content. Okay. If you understand YouTube, which probably the majority of you understand YouTube because you're on YouTube right now. If you understand YouTube, and by the way, it's my favorite, YouTube is a great way to drive traffic to those 2 digital products. Okay. And so all you do is on Mondays, here's your schedule, okay? This is what I would do if I started Game Dev Over. On Mondays, I would create content. And that's even if you're working a full-time job. In the evening, I would create some kind of content. You talk to the camera, and then what? You drive traffic to those 2 products, whether it's your wish lists for your game or resources, okay? You could alternate. You could do every other week is pointing to one or the other. And I love both because it diversifies. We'll talk about this in a second, okay? It diversifies. That's why that's so important. That's what separates this video and what I'm teaching right now. It's separate from all the other game devs because all the other game devs are relying on these singular game projects and they're hoping and praying that they make money. Look, I don't have to worry that if my game doesn't do well because I've got other products I sell. I don't just sell one game. That's scary, and I've done it. It's terrifying. Instead, we're going to sell multiple games, micro games, we'll talk about that, and then also all these other resources you have, and you can create multiple resources as your channel grows. All right, build your freaking audience. You don't have to build 1 million subscribers. You don't have to build what I have, which is like close to 400,000. You can build an audience of 10,000. And so, by the way, subscribers don't even matter. What matters is in the financial sense, what matters is driving traffic to those 2 digital products. That's all that matters. In the financial sense, not in the goodwill community sense and just loving YouTube and building a community and having fun and teaching and helping people. But when it comes to actually generating revenue, what matters is not subscribers. You got to get that out of your head. That's called a vanity metric. It's not real. Likes, subscribers, who cares? What matters in the financial sense is driving traffic to those 2 digital products, okay? All right, so you're building your audience and you're driving traffic and collecting wish lists. The goal is 10,000 wish lists to 20,000 for your game. And then also selling those digital products, generating a decent amount of revenue. What you'll find is those digital products will sustain you while you make your games. Okay, so selling those digital products, you can sell them you could probably generate at least $4,000 a month from those digital products. I know that sounds crazy. It's not crazy. Everyone's doing it on YouTube. Okay, I'm just being honest. Everyone's doing it, and it's great because the audience who does purchase these resources, they get a lot of value out of it, but they also have someone they trust. Like if you really like a YouTuber, and they're going to teach you something, it's great because you feel like they're a friend and you trust them, right? So your audience is going to be grateful for it, and you're going to make $4,000 a month, okay? Just from a few people who want to purchase your resources that you have available. But then your games are going to be generating wish lists, okay? Now, number three. Now that you have a small little machine that's running, We're releasing a weekly video, and you're doing it on Mondays, and you're releasing a weekly video. Now that you have this machine running and it's generating some revenue for you, but it's also building wish lists. It's running. What do you do now? Build your game. That's number 3. You can build your game and hopefully go full time because your social media presence, your resources are generating revenue. And you're also generating wish lists. And we're going to make our game. And we can even create content about making that game. Isn't that cool? Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, now I can make my big dream game. Well, this is the third thing I would do differently. If I had to start Game Dev over, do you know what I would create? Micro games. That's what I would generate. Micro games. This is so funny because this is what I used to do when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I would make things called flash games. I don't know if anyone was in the industry at the time, but flash games were micro games. They were tiny little 15-minute games. And you could make like 20 grand off these things. I know I did. I made 20 grand on the first one, 25 grand on the second one, Coma and then Skinny. And I was like a teenager, and then I was like in my early 20s. Micro games are great because as you're generating revenue from your YouTube channel, YouTube ads, but also resources that you're selling, you're generating wish lists for the micro game. And so by the time the quarter is up, or maybe half a year is up, or God forbid a year, but let's say your micro game takes a year, you generated wish lists, you used the revenue you created from your digital product to create the game, and then you release the game, and you know that the game is going to make at least like 10 grand on launch because of the what? Wish list that you were generating throughout the year. Doing a 2-year project, a 3-year project is much riskier. If you make a massive game, your dream game, and you do it over the course of 2 years, then you've spent a lot of money. You've spent a lot of money and time creating this game, and so it's just a bigger gamble. So I like micro games. I'm a big fan of micro games right now. A micro game being like an hour long, 2 hours, some little mini concept that's tight. It's really, really tight. It's got a strong hook, and it's tight, okay? That kind of a game excites me because it's a low-risk game. It's not a huge gamble. So that's what I would do if I started Game Dev differently, or started Game Dev over. I'm not saying I wouldn't make a big game again, but I'm saying if I started over, eventually I might move to a bigger game and I might move out of this 3-step business model. But if I started over and I was starting completely fresh and solo, that's what I would do. And the micro games make it so much simpler for you because you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. How many of you are worried right now that your game is just not going to generate revenue? Well, if you make a micro game and you release it maybe in 6 months or maybe even 4 months, or it would be 3 months for a quarter, then you could say, oh, too bad, didn't make money, but you learned a ton, and what do you know now? You know what to focus on. See, I'm all about this whole list, this whole video, I just spit, but this whole video is about how to focus. I'm so passionate about focusing and simplifying and cleaning up the process, the framework of how you build your game dev business. Because I don't want you to suffer like I did, because it's like years and years of doing way too much and overcomplicating everything, focusing on, I got to make Instagram content, TikTok content, create content for this platform and that platform, and I need to make this huge game and it's going to cost $500,000 to create, so I need to go get funding, blah, blah, blah. It's exhausting, and I don't want you to be exhausted. I want you to focus. So let's just review here. Create 2 digital products. The first one is an opt-in page or a Steam page to get wish lists, and those wish lists will generate over the course of the creation of the game. The second is some kind of a resource, a mini course, and you can sell this for 3 years if you want. Just a little mini course that's focused on what you're really good at. I could make a mini course on creating super effective cutscenes, like right here with Neversong. I could create a mini course and sell it for $27, and I could make that course in probably a week. And I can guarantee you the students who purchase that will be thrilled about it. Because number one, they purchased it, therefore they needed it and they wanted it. But number two, you're going to get people emailing you saying, thank you so much for creating this. It was so helpful. I learned how to create this cutscene, and now I can add these cutscenes to my game, blah, blah, blah. See, so just find your forte, and you can create content about that to teach, okay? Number 2, build your audience. I recommend YouTube. What did I say? I said, don't worry about vanity metrics, okay? Just worry about opt-ins. This is from the business perspective, okay? I'm not saying money is everything. I'm saying that if you're going to build a business and you want to be a full-time game dev, opt-ins are what matter. So getting wish lists or people purchasing your courses or purchasing your resources, all that, that's the most important thing, okay? Number 3, now that you've got a small little machine generating revenue for you, then you can start focusing on actually making that micro game that you're getting wish lists for. Okay? And then you launch it and you make more money. We're creating 2 things here. We're creating an evergreen model where we're selling something monthly, and that monthly revenue is. And by the way, people are listening right now. They're thinking this is outside of the scope of what's mainstream. It's not in the sense that like Patreon, everybody's got a Patreon. What I'm saying is basically Patreon, but you have control over the resource that you're selling, and it's a higher value resource. It's not just, hey, please support me, please support me. It's, no, I actually have something I want to teach you, and it also supports me. And that's what that resource is, okay? Now, number 3, generate micro games, okay? And you sell that based on the wish lists you get throughout the production cycle, okay? And that's done through YouTube. So that's what I would do if I had to start game dev over, okay? I'm being completely honest with you guys. I'm telling you exactly what I do, okay? And by the way, I do this. Micro games, not yet, but I'm hoping to do some micro games, and that'll be really, really fun. Let's think here. Oh, I wanted to tell you why this matters. Like why we're trying to create some kind of sustainable business model that isn't a private, or it's like a safe little bubble. The reason we're doing this is because the indie game industry is really scary right now. It's really, really scary to make indie games. Why? Because you spend all this time and money building out a game over a year or 2, and then you release it and you make no money. And this isn't just indies. This is like AAA, right? From indie to AAA, but it's particularly hard with indies. Indies spend all this time and money, and they release a game, and then they make no money. And then they're stuck, right? They're stuck at the end of the finish line with no money, and they got to go get a real job. And I don't want you to do that. Now, the way I function, the way my brain works, is I'm paranoid. And I know this is a problem. I've talked about this with my wife. I gotta work through this. I'm a paranoid kind of person. I always feel like I'm on thin ice. And this has caused some problems in my life with anxiety and stress and overthinking things. But I am at a place now where I'm kind of grateful for being that way my whole life, because it's created this ability to focus on what really matters and create just a few safety nets. And so what I've given you here is kind of a safe process, as long as you keep your head on straight and you don't burn out and you don't work too hard. You just focus on what really matters. You focus on creating a resource and getting wish lists, and then creating micro games and content on YouTube. And you can create a sustainable business model. Okay, that is all I wanted to share with you. By the way, guys, lead magnet's below. Call to action is below. See, I'm doing it right now. If you wanna join the webinar below on how to make 6 figures with just a demo. And again, I've done this multiple times. If you want to learn how to do that, click the link below and I'll show you how to do it. It's totally free, no gimmicks. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.